This is a clip from the Playback TV stream. Every day, 12 p.m., playback.tv/runitbackphilly. Be there. Also, we're on Bleacher Report today at 5. Bleacher Report app on your phone. Go on the Bleacher Report app. Go to what's happening now. The stream will be there at 5 p.m. We're talking about the Sixers playoff picture. We're talking about the MVP race. Join us. Be active in the chat on Bleacher Report. Let's go.
Run it back, Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros.
The MVP race is an interesting one. I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, Kendrick Perkins is a fraud, okay? Kendrick Perkins, just a couple of months ago, said, I don't see any way you could not pick Joel Embiid to be the MVP of the NBA. He said that on national television. Now, last week when Joel sat out the game in Denver, Kendrick Perkins was very vocal about that. He was very upset about that. And he said, basically, you can't sit out this game. And he was voicing his opinion on the internet and on ESPN about Joel Embiid sitting out that game. I got one thing to say about that. People want to say Joel Embiid's stat pads or he cares too much about the MVP. Then people want to say, when Joel Embiid takes a rest game against a player who last time he played him, he put up 48, 17, and 7 and kicked his ass all over the floor in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, and hit a game-icing step-back Steph Curry-style three-pointer in his grill. He takes a rest game when they go in Denver, showing that he doesn't need the stat pad. He doesn't need to kick Nikola Jokic's ass again to win the MVP. I care more about winning a championship. So they say Joel cares too much about the MVP, and he stat pads, and then he takes a rest game, and then the narrative is Joel Embiid's ducking Nikola Jokic. And so Kendrick Perkins takes that and rescinds his I'm voting for Joel Embiid narrative, and now he claims that he's voting for Giannis Antetokounmpo instead, basically based off of one game where Joel Embiid sat out, which is ridiculous. But anyway, here's Nikola Jokic on his first take, where he said, here's the quote, I don't see how anyone can't have Joel Embiid as a front runner as far as the MVP. Here's his take on that.
Woo! To be the man, you got to beat the man. And that's what Stephen A. did on this show with you and Marcus Spears, my big brother Swag Goose, sitting on here, right? So fast forward. We had rivalry week with ESPN, and I remember I had to come down to New York and do the countdown, and I was sitting in the green room with yours truly, Mr.
Can we get to the point here?
A piece knowing I wanted to, right? And I saw Jokic give Embiid 47, not 7, 47 18 with the win. So
what? Wait, he didn't even say it right.
7, 40, Embiid, 40.
He said Jokic scored 47 and 18 on Embiid.
Right, and I saw Jokic give Embiid 47, not 7, 47 18 with the win. So he actually beat the man, right? He matched up with him, and he actually.
What he meant was Joel Embiid gave Jokic 48 and 7. Oh, you can't hear it? Can't hear it. Damn. What's up with that? That's interesting that you can't hear it. Anyway, he said he saw Joel Embiid kick Jokic's ass, and that's why he's voting Joel Embiid for MVP. Then, more recently on ESPN, he says the best player in the league on the best team, averaging a career high in points, third in rebounding, Giannis is getting my vote for MVP. So, for no real reason whatsoever, Kendrick Perkins is no longer voting for Joel Embiid for MVP. He's now voting for Giannis Antetokounmpo for MVP. And it seems like he is doing this because he's mad that Joel Embiid sat out one game in Denver, and he said Joel's ducking Jokic. So Kendrick Perkins is a fraud. I don't think the MVP is between Jokic and Embiid or Jokic and Giannis. I think the MVP is between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. And Tony Kornheiser, also on ESPN, basically said Giannis should be MVP, and Tony Kornheiser, who does not watch NBA basketball, doesn't even know what he's talking about, pulls out a stat sheet of one matchup. He pulls out a stat sheet of one Giannis versus Embiid matchup, and he says Giannis had more points, more rebounds, and more blocks. So if your opinion is that the MVP is between Embiid and Giannis, then you can't give it to Embiid because Giannis beat him in every statistical category in their last matchup. That was his take. And by the way, he was reading off of a piece of paper that somebody handed to him, which is, just what ESPN does. The reason I don't think Jokic has anything to do with the MVP award is because he flat out can't play defense. And I know for years now, Jokic fans, Denver Nuggets fans have used advanced analytics to try to tell us that Nikola Jokic plays defense and actually is one of the greatest defenders in all of the NBA based on estimated adjusted box plus minus whatever other equation you want to use. But here's a good stat. Nikola Jokic is giving up more points when trying to defend layups than any player in the history of the player tracking era. Bro, Nikola Jokic is literally, statistically, the worst rim defending player in the history of the stat since they started tracking rim defense in 2013. Nikola Jokic gives up more points when trying to defend layups than any player in the history since 2013. So not only can he play defense, he's literally one of the worst of all time. That's why he's not in the conversation. So I'm not hearing it anymore. Show me what every equation you want to show me. We saw it happen. We saw Colin Sexton cook this guy. We saw, Tyrese Maxey blow by him. We saw everybody can get by Jokic. It's between Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And since Tony Kornheiser brings up the idea that we should judge this based off of one matchup, I went and tweeted, if we are basing the MVP award between Embiid and Giannis on a one-on-one matchup, let's go back the whole season. Embiid versus Giannis, 2023. He won 2 games. He lost 2 games. Joel Embiid in a loss. First game they met, he had 28, 9, and 5. Giannis had 21, 13, and 8. The next game the Sixers won. Joel Embiid had 31, 6, and 10. Giannis had 25, 14, and 4 in a loss. The next game the Sixers won. Joel had 32, 11, and 8. A damn near 32-point triple-double. The Sixers won. Giannis had 34, 13, and 4 in a loss. The one bad game 2 days ago from Joel Embiid, 15, 12, and 3 in a loss, and Giannis had 33, 14, and 6. That's the game Tony Kornheiser's talking about. But if we're going throughout the whole season, Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo are right here, neck and neck. 2 wins, 2 losses. The points, rebounds, assists are neck and neck. It's your call. You could argue with Joel Embiid by saying Giannis has Drew Holiday, a two-way point guard who can lock down the other team's point guard and who can give you great facilitating from the point guard position. Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, a deeper bench. You can make the argument by saying Giannis has a deeper, stronger team than Joel. You can make the argument for Giannis by basically saying that he slightly has better stats than Joel Embiid, and the Milwaukee Bucks are a higher seed, but are they a higher seed strictly because of Giannis Antetokounmpo, or do they overall have a better team? You can make a case for either, whichever way you want to go, but it's between those two. It's not between anybody and Nikola Jokic at this point. I would be frustrated if they don't give it to Embiid, but it is what it is at this point. I still can't believe they gave 2 in a row to Nikola Jokic. They absolutely cannot give 3 in a row to Nikola Jokic. If Joel Embiid comes out tonight and has one of these 32, 11, and 8 games, 35, maybe one of these 40, 45, 15, and 7 games, and the Sixers beat the Celtics, then I think Joel Embiid does solidify the MVP award tonight against the Boston Celtics. If he has a stinker and the Sixers get smacked, then I think that might make the case for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Either way, it doesn't really matter, obviously, but we want Joel Embiid to have an MVP award to his name. It would just be nice for his career to have an MVP award. And he's the past couple of seasons, he's just had historic runs. And if he doesn't have an MVP award in his entire career, that would suck. That would suck.